Programming support for WRLR is made possible in part by the Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. More information can be found on the web at www.fntlc.com. Fidelity National Title has offices locally in Lake, Cook, and McHenry counties and throughout the United States.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Hello and happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in to The Life 98.3 FM, or if you're on the internet, it's 983thelife.com. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. I come at you every single Monday night at 7 o'clock. We're here, like I said, at 7 o'clock. This is always fun. I got a special guest here. She's making me giggle a little bit. I try to ad-lib it as well as read my script, so I'm going to repeat myself a couple times. So today, you're listening to Bacon Bits, and Bacon Bits is all about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups, the downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. And every week I'm on a quest, a noble quest, to bring you the absolute best guest that I can find. And today we're going to be talking about stress, not only stress itself, but how to prep for stress, how to prepare yourself for stress, because stress and anxiety is inevitable. So I said to myself, who's the person who would alleviate the stress just by looking at her smiling face? Just thinking about this young lady makes my frown turn upside down. So I'd like to introduce a very special guest, Cricket Cartwright. And so Cricket, I got your mic on. I'd like you to introduce yourself to the world.
Howdy. It's me. Your girl. Good, to be back.
There you go. Yes, yeah. You were on one show some time ago. We were just trying to remember what that show was about.
Not a clue.
I think it was just tangents. That's all it was. It was just random ramblings, which I love.
Always the best.
Yeah. So, Cricket, tell us a little bit about you, because people are going to listen to this. It's been advertised as prepping for stress, how to prepare yourself for this type of anxiety that we meet on a regular basis. What makes you the pro at it? Tell us a little bit about your career, what you do, what you're going to be doing, etc., so that the world can say, hey, maybe this girl can actually help me.
I might have a little bit of knowledge behind what I say for this next hour.
Maybe. At least we're going to fake it.
Always. So I currently, right now, I'm an EMT with a critical care transport company. So we pick up patients from most ERs and take them to an ER that is more suitable for their level of injury or illness.
Wow. Okay.
So we do a lot of right now, because it's winter, we're doing a lot of kids respiratory RSV season, so it's kind of tough. So I drive a big old boy ambulance all over the place.
So you drive it too?
Yeah. So
that's cool.
I ride with a paramedic, either a just regular paramedic or a critical care medic, and most of the times we have a critical care transport nurse on board with us.
Okay.
So that allows us to do cool things do drugs, or not. We're not doing drugs. We're not doing
good to know.
But,
good to know. Yes.
Allows us to do cool things like push drugs and keep drugs on a pump and stuff going, ventilators,
okay,
all that jazz. And I also did for a while teach lifeguard training classes for many years. So 16-year-olds, trying to teach them what they're doing is very important and life-saving.
Yeah.
Always a good time.
So you're just pretty much in charge of life-saving.
Absolutely. That's if I always say you want me on your zombie apocalypse team.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Because you're not going to die from the zombies. Most likely it's going to be.
I'm afraid I'm afraid that I'm going to build such a strong team to protect me during a zombie apocalypse that they're going to kick me out.
You're going to be the most useless one there.
Exactly. Well,
that sounds like something you're stressed out about.
Maybe a little bit.
We should talk about how to deal with that.
Possibly. But yeah, we'll save the zombie apocalypse conversation for another show. But right now, I really do want to talk about prepping for stress, because I run into so many people, and I don't know if it's my ignorance to this or if it is something in the water, something in the food we eat, something maybe it's caused by social media, whatever. But it seems like every generation seems to get higher and higher amount of anxiety, more stress. Now, it could be that that's the reality. It could be that maybe people are opening up more and we're hearing about it, whereas before people were bottling it up inside. Yeah. I don't know. What's your feelings just in general about people and stress?
So I have a pretty good take, especially on like the generational aspect
Yes.
of it, is that when you were growing up versus like when I'm growing up, I am looking at what the entire like anybody who has access to the internet, I can see what they look like, what they're thinking,
Yeah.
and what they think of other people. So like our exposure and communication to the amount of people, I think, just innately gives us a little bit more sense of like insecurity and self-doubt. Um, because I mean, think about like our ancestors, they probably knew like 8 people that lived in their
That's a good
village.
point. That's a very
Do you
good
think
point.
they were
Right.
worried about what their
Yeah.
tummies looked like? I don't think so.
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
not.
And they just had to deal with them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And like
It was like,
just,
you're going to be there because this guy's going to help me eat tonight. So yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we're so informed that we're almost a little bit too informed.
That's a really good take on it. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I think I'm going to agree with you so much on that, because when I was younger, it was that idea if something stressed me out, I couldn't go to social media immediately and then vent. I couldn't say something right away. I had to. It gave me the entire evening to think about it before I went to school. Let's say the next day,
Yep.
and facing it. And right now, everything's so immediate. All right, and it's okay for me to just shout to the world. And I think that adds to this whole this idea of we don't have enough power. We don't have our brains don't work quick enough to understand the damage we do
Oh yeah.
answering so quickly.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, growing up, we had talking about like going after school. I remember in middle school, I don't know if anybody here knows Ask FM, but people would
Okay.
link that on their Instagram bios, and it was just an anonymous where people could just comment directly towards you. The bullying and just like I mean, that was like you didn't have to know who it was, but like I can pretend to think people don't like me, but that is confirming it. And I don't need to know that
Yeah.
at 13. Are you kidding me?
No, and anything like that is anonymous. Like here, say whatever you want against whoever you want anonymously is
Mhm.
got to be awful. I mean, that really then
Gosh.
opens the door to everyone, because it's even opening the doors to the people who are just being mean for the sake of trying to be funny.
Yes.
Okay, and they don't even realize, ha ha ha, that's shock humor. I'm going to do this, and they don't understand how much they're affecting someone with that. All right, so that's just a small portion, but then the people are like, wow, I got free reign. I can say what I really feel
Let loose.
with no retribution because they don't know who it is. Yeah, that's got to be
Dangerous game
really,
for
really
middle
rough.
schoolers.
Yeah.
It's much easier than passing a note around. The teacher never knew.
Exactly. I like it. All right. So I guess the question here is, we are all going to be stressed about something. We're all going to have some anxiety. That's a normal condition. It goes all the way back to because you brought up the old days. Let's say
yes.
cavemen, when we lived in tribe and we only knew like 8 people. I think this anxiety and the stress was important because every day our life could have ended. I mean,
Absolutely.
there could have been a saber-toothed tiger behind the bush, right?
Yeah.
And we had to stress out a little bit every time. We had to be a little afraid of not knowing what was going to happen, because every day maybe we really didn't come home that day.
Right. And like even comparing that to like that is to face a saber-toothed tiger like one-on-one. That is to us so stressful. I'm scared about going to the grocery store because there's so many people. Sometimes,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
catch me in a Costco on a Sunday at 3 p.m. at never.
No.
But talking on like I mean the ancestors, think about it, that weren't so scared. They
Yeah.
didn't pass their genes on because they got eaten by that tiger.
Yeah, there you
So
go. There
there's
you
a
go.
really good book called Mean Genes. I
Oh,
can't remember
like
the
that.
2
I like that
authors.
thought. That's beautiful. The ones
It's-
who were not afraid.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ones that didn't eat enough calories and
Yeah.
didn't hoard food in their bellies, they didn't live long enough. So that's why we want to eat as much as we can. It's our mean genes. And
Yeah, there you
this
go.
is
I
not
like
an
that.
original thought. This
I
is
like-
a book
no,
that
no,
I'm
that's all right. Yeah,
it's a book by I can't remember, there's 2 authors, but highly recommend that one because it talks about anything from like money and how it's hard for us to save, why we overeat, why we overconsume. It just kind of
It makes
ties it all
that makes
back
a
to
lot of
that.
sense. Yeah, yeah.
It's like you're not at fault. It is your mean genes.
Okay.
It's trying to hijack your
That's
system.
that's excellent. And so this is one of the things that I like, is if we can face that and we can understand the logic behind that,
Mhm.
just to say that ancestrally, is that a word? Ancestrally?
It is now.
It sounds good, right?
It's been on the radio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I heard it on the radio. That we've heard those things, or it makes sense that this is how I was born.
Mhm.
That if we can address that thought, then we can have a little bit of control over it.
And compassion, like self-compassion is huge. It's always be like, oh my gosh, there's what's wrong with me, or I'm such a blah 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 whatever, I can't handle blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Like, it's like, no, like, you're fine, everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, take the self-blame out of it.
Now, well, you said everyone else is doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say that because wholeheartedly when you're stressing and you feel like your world's collapsing, sometimes the last thing you need to hear is, "Oh yeah, everyone's going through
They
the same
have
thing."
it. This person has it worse than
Oh
you.
yeah, that makes me feel so much better. Oh really? Someone's having it worse than me? Oh good, then I'll
Yeah, great.
smile.
It's like, now I'm
No.
stressed and mad.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So we got to come up with the right way to do this. But I was listening to a book and it was really cool. They talked about this whole thing of the way that you address stress should be like a dimmer switch, not an on and off switch.
Yeah.
In other words, so often what we do is we go, I'm all stressed out. And somebody comes up and says, stop being stressed. You have nothing to worry about. Life could be worse, blah, blah, blah. And they want you to just turn it off. It can't. But if you can learn to just dim it a little bit and just say, this is tough for me, but it's not the worst that I'm going through. Let's say it could be a lot worse. And,
Yep.
I have to talk to myself, like you said, self-compassion, and to sit there going, am I making too big of a deal of this? Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
You know,
Catastrophizing is my
Yeah.
strong suit.
I have a feeling that's what we talked about that the last
I
time
think-
you were on here.
You know what? That sounds familiar.
Exactly. There you go. And we all do that.
Yeah.
We think of the worst case scenario. For me, and I'm not saying that I have the solution to everyone, I found what works best for me.
Mm.
And I get a kick out of, I start laughing at myself when I stress out. Because when you said something like, oh, 3:00 on Sunday at Costco,
Palms are still sweating.
really, I drive by Costco 3:00 on Sunday. I see the parking lot full. I'm like, I'm going in. Oh man, because I
Nightmare.
like it. I because I'm like, this is crazy. I love
Chaos.
people. I love right. I like the whole system like that. When I used to travel a lot, people would say, "Are you TSA approved?" Like, so I can go through the
yeah.
gates quickly. And I was like, "No, I would never do that."
I love standing in
I
line.
know. I'll stand in line for hours and just look at people going, "Look at how stressed out they are."
I get a free pat down through this
Yeah,
line. I don't know which
exactly.
one's
Right. Exactly. You tell them I'm hiding something. See if you can find it.
I thought it was a game.
Exactly.
Get all those like instructions and rules outside.
There you go. There you go. See, that's it. I find for me, in order to beat stress,
Mhm.
is seriously be funny about it, is to laugh at myself, because we've all heard that stuff of don't sweat the only don't sweat
What is
the
it?
small
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then you realize everything is small stuff.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the stuff I feel like I sweat the most.
Is the little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. So instead, don't sweat any of it.
Mhm.
Just realize that every single thing you look at, and we're going to get into this more detail here, but everything you look at, it's all about how you respond to it.
Yep.
I can view it in a positive way or in a negative way.
Totally. And it's very, very, it's almost like a muscle. It's very easy
Yes.
to go down the negative way. It's almost like our default is to think, oh, like, what was me? This
Yeah.
is the worst thing ever. But the more that we think positive, I feel like the easier it'll be to kind of like,
Yeah, just a
balance.
little bit. You know what? I'm
Yeah.
going to move your mic a little closer to you because you keep going in and out, disappearing, and you're spinning pearls here.
Are you writing this down?
Exactly. This is good stuff. I'm going to save the
Should be
transcript
recording
from
it.
this show, if only, right? So we'll see. It's supposed to be on YouTube. I mean, we're live on Twitch. We're going to go later this week. It's on Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, the podcast.
That's it.
And you know where you can listen to that?
Where can we listen to that?
Anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Lucky us.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. So I want to get right back into this. So let me see. So we went through this understanding what stress is. So would you have a way of defining, how would you define stress itself? Just so the people out there are listening, what do you think stress is or anxiety?
So I think like a huge gold star on this one is
Yeah.
the biggest thing is its perception. So talking
Yep.
about the whole like they have it worse over here. Like however you experience and like your response to emotion, you perceive what is the worst versus what is the best
Yep,
for you.
yep.
So there's no reason or needing to compare. But I think there's kind of like two types of stress. So there's the stress like the in the moment, I'm in a stressful situation scenario, and how to kind of manage through like behavior wise through this moment. And then there's the more reminiscing, like anxious stress,
Yes.
kind of more being stressed about something that did or could happen.
Okay.
And that I think Definitely a little bit second one ladder, what we're going to talk about a little more. But I think that's an easier one to control and to kind of take the reins back on for yourself.
Now, let me ask you something. So now you're saying there's two different types of stress, something that's happening in the moment versus in the future. Don't you think technically it's when you're saying something's happening in the moment, it's about something that's about to happen. So it's the short-term future or the long-term future.
Yeah.
So it's anxiety or stress is all about how we're predicting the future.
Yes,
Whether
yeah.
it's in the next couple of seconds, this is what's about to happen, or in the next year, this is what's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
Right?
I agree.
So somebody else would, and I didn't write this down, and I read this, it was another gem, and it was about the stress is about the negative predictions you make that your current coping mechanisms can't handle.
True. Oh, I liked it a lot.
Isn't that nice?
I liked it a lot. Yeah.
So this is worth keeping.
I like
the
that.
transcript.
Yeah. I like that kind of keeps the power in your hand. That it's you can
your
always handle
current-
something.
Your
Yeah.
current coping.
I can make it better. There's something I can do that gives me some control.
And I think it's also important to realize that, and we joked about it before, when you say, I'm stressed about Costco at 3 on Sunday, okay? And someone else says, I'm stressed about being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger.
Right.
From the helicopter view, you look at both of them and you say, well, why would you be stressed about that when he could be eaten by a tiger? But we are all, it's our own perception.
Totally.
And so the stress you feel on one thing, which may be not stressful at all to someone else, it could be awful to you.
Mhm.
Okay. And we have to realize that at everyone's level of stress, everyone faces a different battle every day.
Yeah.
And so we can't view it in levels, because I might look at you and say, why are you stressed about that? Do
Easy.
this. That's
Yeah.
easy. But you can only view it in yourself.
Yep.
These are the levels. These are the things that really stress me out. These are the things that don't stress me out.
Right. Because I mean, if you like to be in a helicopter,
Yeah.
and they're like the measurable kind of like physical reactions of
Yeah.
stress, so like high heart rate,
Sure.
breathing kind of more quicker, a little bit more shallow, stuff like that, like measurable ones. If you were to put whatever equipment on these guys,
Yeah.
they would have the exact same high heart rate, all
Yes,
that. Like they would
yes.
be equally as stressed on a
Right.
graph if you wanted to
Yeah,
get all
yeah.
mathematical about it.
There you go. I would be, if I was facing a saber-toothed tiger and I saw a guy above me in an helicopter, I'd be like,
This
really?
is the weirdest dream I've ever had.
Exactly. And why doesn't he just save me?
You have a
All right,
rope.
yeah, exactly. All right. So you brought up this how stress affects us, and you take a look at it. It affects us physically, emotionally, and even the way we behave. It affects the way we do this. And I like how you were talking about the sweaty palms and everything like that. The one of the things that I faced that at an earlier age would stress me out, but I faced it because I realized this is not life threatening,
Yes.
was speaking on stage.
Look
Okay.
at you now.
Yeah, look at me. I'm on the radio, but speaking on stage. And now I speak on stage in front of larger audiences.
Yeah.
And the first couple of times I was kind of like, well, I can do this. And I like getting up and being funny, making a couple wise remarks, and making a couple jokes. But the first couple of times you stand up in front of a group and you suddenly realize everyone stops and looks at you and says, oh, this person's about to say something intelligent. Let's hear it. And I was like, oh, wait a second. I had to say something intelligent? Is that why you called me?
Oh my God, for me?
Yeah. And so you realize that that's a spooky situation. And then when I do the research on it, I found out that it's over 75% of people have some fear of public speaking.
Yeah.
And
okay.
that stresses them out, looking towards that, sitting there going, oh my God, next week I have to do that presentation. And sometimes it's presentation. What do you mean you have a presentation? I got to talk in front of 3 people at work. And you're like, wow. And that's
Man,
stressing
oh,
you
man.
out. Yeah.
I see. I think I'm the opposite because I love public speaking mainly just
Yes.
because everybody has to listen to me.
Yes.
No
yeah.
one's gonna rub me. All the attention's on me.
Nice.
The
Nice.
spotlight's here. So
Beautiful.
I've like that's one of the ones that I don't share that I do agree on. A lot of people do share. So I definitely
Yeah.
carried the weight in terms of group assignments is
Okay.
I would I'll talk. If you want to type it, I'll
Yeah.
I'll
do it.
say
Yeah,
whatever
whatever
you say.
Someone else write it and type
Write
it.
my
I'll
script.
do it. Yeah. Yeah. But now I teach public speaking, and it's amazing the people. I teach some kids, and over the weekend I got a new class coming in, and I supposed to be from 7 7 years old and up. So there's 3 different groups all the way up through high school students. And so somebody brought in a 6.5-year-old, right?
Nice.
And it's really interesting going,
For a public speaking class?
yeah, for public
Love it.
speaking, right? And I'm like, okay, great.
This kid has things to say.
How about let's teach the kid to sit in a desk, okay, before we teach them how to speak.
Old pencil.
Right.
I don't know
But
about old kids
but
anymore.
right, yeah,
They do things.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. I always measure. I don't measure kids in age. It's height. I go, he's this old,
Like,
and he's about 3 feet old. But anyway, it's the interesting thing is the kids are less afraid than adults. And I teach public speaking to adults as well, and it's really interesting because I've had some clients that are attorneys, and immediately I would think, why is an attorney calling me, right? Like what? Why are you afraid of this? Isn't this part of your job? And it's amazing how some of them are truly terrified. Okay. And so I work through this whole thing. And one of the magic clues that I do, one of these magic things that I teach them is don't label it as anxiety, label it as excitement.
Yep.
Okay. That's so important is before you walk out on stage, and we're talking very specific, but it does touch on everything we talk about with stress and anxiety. Before you walk out on stage and you're walking, you're like, I'm really nervous, right? And I had a guy I was teaching, he was doing these presentations, and during the training and telling him what he had to do, you could see he started shaking, right? And it's like,
man.
yeah. And so he was really freaking out. And the idea of saying, you have been asked to do this presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone who is there is looking for this information from you. They trust you. You're a credible source. They have asked you to please share this information. Mm-hmm. So first off, you are not doing this to be judged by them. You are doing this to give them a gift.
Yeah.
All right. And that's it. And as soon as you say, I'm enthusiastic, I'm excited about sharing
I have
my
something
knowledge.
They want. Yeah.
Right. And as soon as you do that, it turns it just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that fear turns to excitement and exhilaration.
Yeah, because they kind of, think about it, they feel the same, whether you're about to get on a roller coaster or whatnot, but you're like, it kind of feels the same. You can almost trick yourself.
Completely.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
You go on a roller coaster or you're afraid of a test tomorrow.
Yep.
It's your heart starts pounding, your breathing changes, your palms start to sweat. It's the same thing. So fear and excitement, they're hand in hand, and your body and your brain doesn't know the difference. Mm-hmm. You just have to tell it, no, this is excitement. I'm excited about tomorrow. I'm not afraid of tomorrow.
I like, and it also pulls back. This is again rooted in your perception, because the 6.5-year-old, these kids, they're not scared because they don't know shame yet. Yes. They haven't been embarrassed like the way that we think we're gonna be embarrassed when we do something like that. Yeah. So
they're just dying to tell me a fart joke.
Absolutely. They know that they have everything that you want to hear. Exactly. Whereas like they to make a mistake in front of a big group, it's not gonna affect them as much as like us maybe.
That's true. That's true.
But it's back to your perception.
Yes, exactly. And you're right. And that's what it comes down to is, what does it mean to me? And if you realize that, if you can sit here and say, that makes sense, that I can just tag it differently and I can feel different about it, that means I can make those changes for everything. All right. Now, obviously, some people suffer from great anxiety.
Yes.
Right. And they need to go see professionals. And I always tell people, if that's the case, then please seek professional help.
Yes. Okay? We are not doctors. We are just two strangers on the internet.
So. Exactly. And they don't get much stranger than this.
Yeah. So okay. Do not take any of this as medical advice.
Right. Or go ahead and do. All right. So
send me the check.
So, on this show, the reason it's called Bacon Bits is what we do is we apply a little bacon to it, because everything bacon touches just becomes a little bit better. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Every single time.
Every single time, right? But we're not talking about the bacon for chewing. She doesn't know the rest.
No, I don't. I'm so sorry. I was your point, and I was like, I know he wants something. I
We're not talking about the bacon for chewing. We're talking about the bacon for doing.
Oh,
okay.
I got there.
Yeah. Well, maybe next time. You'll be invited back. All right. So what we do is we use an acronym, BACON, to kind of talk about or to use as a light outline for helping us get it to a point, like trying to finish that statement. Now, what's really fun about this, not most guests just come in for the ride, but Cricket here says, no, you know what? I'm going to make my own acronym. So I'm going to use mine and Cricket's. We're going to go through these. So the BACON that I want to talk about are 5 different things that we should think about in order to maybe harness the power within us to beat stress, or at least corral it. Okay. So it's going to be B is breathe. A is anticipate. Okay. C is going to be communicate. O is organize, and we'll get into greater detail. And N is going to be navigate. Navigate is know when to walk away. All right. Now, Cricket, do you want to read yours?
Oh yeah, I got notes, baby.
Do you?
I'm good.
All right. All right. Wow. Then go right ahead. 'Cause
I came prepared.
I wrote yours down too because I love them. Go ahead.
I do my homework.
Good for you.
So for my bacon, I said B for begin, A is adapt, C for control, O optimize, N notice and nurture because I couldn't pick my favorite.
I like it. You know what? I have noticed that over the course of the past couple of years, N is more nurture than anything else. No matter what the subject is,
Is it really?
always nurture. Right? So
It does. It
I start
works.
looking for other N words, and it's just not happening.
I don't.
So
Yeah.
nurture is a really strong word. So let's
Noted.
get into this. Let's jump into both of these B's.
Yep.
So you said begin,
Uh-huh.
and you wrote begin, something we just got to do. Sometimes we just got to do things that are uncomfortable.
Yes.
I love the way that that's written.
Oh, there
Yeah.
is. I have one of my favorite stories of when I used to teach kids swimming is I had this one kid. He was one of my favorites
Yeah.
because he was a crier. I'm a crier. I
Yeah.
tell people there's just water coming out of my face. Moving on.
Yeah.
It just happens. But so he was a crier. I related a lot to him. Adored it. So
Uh-huh.
he like jumped in and his goggles were coming up and he was
Yeah.
real upset. He couldn't he was gonna start crying and he didn't want to go down the length of the pool and we're in the middle of practice. And I looked at this 10-year-old and I was like, sometimes we just do things crying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that years later stuck with me. And I say that all the time is just because you're crying doesn't mean you can't take a shower. Just because or crying or stressed or whatever, that's interchangeable. But I don't know, you can do it anyway. It's not an and or an all or nothing. It's sometimes I can get out of my comfort zone.
Yes. You know what's interesting, and I love this because you lifeguard, so you're going to
Yeah.
tell swimming stories. I always say life is like a swimming pool.
Mm.
All right, and the reason and it makes a lot of sense because I grew up swimming. We had a lot of swimming in our family. Is sometimes you face that pool and there's certain people that look at that and go, oh, I don't know what the water's going to be like. I'm going to dip my toe in it. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm going to walk around life for a while and never jump in. And before you know it, the day is over and you go home and you never jumped in, right? Other people climb to the top of the highest board and just jump in with wild abandon, right? And they just attack life, all right? Other people need to be pushed in,
Yeah.
right? And so what happens is the worst thing is not at least attempting it.
Mhm.
Okay. And jumping in the water, whatever it is, grabbing someone's hand and go, let's jump in together.
Yeah.
That's why life is so much like a swimming pool.
Mhm.
And I go back to probably 7th or 8th grade. Yeah, probably 7th grade. What was happening was our school connected with, and we lived in the city of Chicago, so we didn't have a swimming pool connected to the school, obviously.
Yeah.
But there was a local public school swimming pool, and they decided to add swimming to the elementary school curriculum,
Oh,
right?
fun. Okay.
And it was really neat. So my brother AJ was a year above me, right? And we had been swimming all this time, and I had no problem swimming. But we get to this swimming pool, and it's enormous from what I'm used to, right? And they said, okay, we're dividing everyone up into 2 groups, the guppies and the sharks. And the sharks had to be in the deepest end of the pool, and they threw a rubber brick into the pool. And they said, if you can jump in, swim to the bottom of the pool, grab the brick, swim up, you could be a shark. And we're going to do it the rest of the year in the deep water. If you don't, you're afraid, you go to the guppies and you're going to be in the shallow water where you can stand in the water and the water's up to your belly button, right? So this is not swimming. This is
Baby.
wading, right? Well, everyone that, AJ and my brother AJ and all these other kids ran to the deep end, and I stood there afraid.
Mhm.
Right. And jumping in that deep water, swimming to the bottom, grabbing the brick would have been nothing for me.
Yeah.
That would have been easy. But there was something about the size of the pool, the fact that it was a strange environment. There was other kids, and all these other kids were like, I'm going to be a guppy. I'm going to be a guppy. So I stayed on the guppy side. Yeah. And I climbed in, and all these kids that I knew were on the deep end. They're like, Marty, what are you doing? Ready? I go, I'm going to be a guppy. Right.
It's me, your friend, the guppy.
That entire year, we never got out of the shallow water, right? And all I kept doing was looking at them playing in the deep water going, why didn't I just do it?
And you think about that still, and you remember all those
Yeah.
details to this day, and that shows that monumental.
Yeah, because you sit there, and that's just one of those things I look at and I say, from now on,
Mhm.
given the opportunity, I'm jumping into deep water.
Yeah.
From now on, because I never get a chance again. You
Yep.
don't get, they were like, jump into deep water, jump into shallow. And I was too afraid to jump in the deep, even though inside I knew I could handle it. I went to the shallow. I protected myself instead of trying something. And so to me, it was a great life lesson. Some people go, oh, is it a regret? And I'm going to go, no, it's a great life lesson because that was 1 year of my life, all right, or one school year that in the grand scheme of things passes quickly. But it taught me something. Now you go to a pool, jump into
Every
deep water.
swimming pool, after
Jump
it.
into deep water. I am never, I can't even ever remember standing in shallow water ever now.
Treading
Now,
water.
exactly.
Never
Going,
ever.
yeah, exactly. Right. Even in a puddle, a deep enough, I want a deep
Like
puddle. Yeah. I'm
squat,
going to lay in, I'm
cannonball.
going to lay in the puddle. Right. Okay.
You guys, I'm cool.
Yeah. Say, look at how cool I am. I'm in a puddle.
Not no guppy.
All right. So you know what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a momentary break. Normally I run a couple of different promos for some of the people who love our station, but today I think we're having too much fun, and I'm not going to waste our time. So we're just going to tune in on this.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
I mostly did that because I just like the sound of that.
That was cool.
Yeah, I'm supposed to play that at the bottom of every hour, and I just like that echo kind of thing. Makes me feel like I'm diving off that big board down, and the pool is way far away. There it is. It is.
I like that.
All right. So normally, I want to jump back into this. So that's that begin, like you said. Sometimes we just got to do those things that make us uncomfortable. My B was breathe, and I think it's so important. When you're stressing out, what happens is our breath, we start shortening our breath, right? And it's so important to stop and just take those really, really deep breaths, pull it all in, blow it out slowly. Now, did you ever learn any like breathing exercises to deal with stress?
So I like to do, like I'll kind of breathe. I really like, there's like, it's like a 4, 6, 8. It's a weird one, but what I do is I always just like to, like breathing in and out through my nose mainly is like what works best for me, but is just a very like a long inhale and then an even longer exhale. And I try and retain the breath at the top and the bottom.
Okay.
So like it just kind of like it's reminding my brain, because for me, like I can grab myself very easily if I just think about like physiologically what's going on with me, like in terms of like why my brain is wanting to send all these hormones for me to feel the sensation of stress.
Right.
So like I know, okay, like I need to tell my brain I am safe. Look at how slow and deep I can breathe right now. We are not near a saber-tooth tiger or a Costco.
Oh, I like just saying that to yourself. I never tried that. That's interesting.
Totally. Yeah. Just like you kind of have to tell yourself, like just remember you're okay physically. Because our mean genes, our ancestors, when they see something that's stressful, their brain reacts in that kind of way. Brain learn to respond that way. So
interesting.
You can change that.
So I like this is I've had many people say, oh, you got to do this kind of breath. You breathe in 4 seconds, hold it 6 seconds, exhale 8 seconds, wait an hour, take another breath, that kind of stuff. Right. Exactly. And it's kind of, I can't remember all of that. And then there was another one that you use a square. So
I've seen that.
You breathe in for like 4 seconds or 6 seconds, whatever. And you imagine you're drawing a square and then you're going down, you hold it for that 4 or 6 seconds. Then you exhale for 4 or 6 seconds and you hold it with no air inside you for 4 or 6 seconds, right? And so you do that. And to me, right. And I'm playing this, I'm going, oh, this is stressing me out because I'm like, am I supposed to be watching a watch or something?
Yeah, I'm no longer stressed. I'm just lightheaded.
Exactly. So exactly.
I get it fixed.
I haven't inhaled in a while. Okay. But I found now what I just do is I take those really deep breaths and like you said, exhale through my nose. Because it sounds right. It feels scientific. Yeah. And I like having an Apple Watch because it'll tell me about my, I don't know if it's my blood pressure, my.
So the high heart rate warning? Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. And so what's cool is I watch it and I do the breathing while I'm staring there and I lower the heart rate.
Works.
Yeah. And it's so cool.
Yeah.
I always say I like the fact that I can stress myself out just by my thoughts.
Yes.
Okay. And I can affect my heart rate.
When you're going upstairs at night and you're like, what if something's behind me chasing me? And then now I'm like scared of something behind me chasing me. That's my fault. Yes, why did I think that?
Right. So that's why I walk up the stairs backwards. Okay. So, but what I'm saying is if I can talk myself into adjusting my heart rate like that, I can certainly talk my way out of it.
Yes.
Okay. It's the exact same thing. It's the same brain, just using it. I'm using it instead of it using me.
Totally. You
All
are
right.
control. You're driving this bus.
Exactly. I'm loving it. Right. Beautiful. Sorry. We didn't have it here. Let me put the camera back on.
Okay.
You did that one more time. Who's driving that bus? Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. With the A, I was saying anticipate,
Yep.
and you were saying adapt. So I'm going to go first with my anticipate.
That's good.
So anticipate, in other words, plan for the stressful events.
Mhm.
It's going to happen. Things are going to happen in the future. So understand that no matter what you have faced, or no matter what you're about to face, someone else has faced it before
Truth.
you. They've made it through it, right?
And also every single thing that you've been so stressed about, you've made it through that before
Yeah,
too. You're
exactly.
standing right here, like you've done it before.
Exactly. And you sit here, most of the stuff in our life, if you would look backwards and say, these are the things that stressed me out, most of the stuff you could probably laugh at right now and go,
Yeah.
I cannot believe I wasted any of my time worrying about that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
To reread journals and diaries, it's almost too cringy.
I
It's like
know.
that's
It's like,
really what
really, that's the whole thing.
that was me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you put adapt.
Yep.
Flexibility is the key. All right?
Yep, totally. I think because I like anticipating and pre-planning. There's like I'm somebody when you say we're gonna meet at this restaurant on Thursday, I'm looking at the PDF menu on Tuesday.
Nice.
And I'm pre-planning what I'm gonna order.
Is that stressful or is that okay? Is that just smart?
I think it's I mean, I just like to be prepared.
I like it. All right, there you go. That's why we're here, prepping for stress.
I'm preventing the stress of having to read a menu.
Yeah.
But I think to an extent, though, to being able to be flexible, because if I walked into that restaurant and they're like, "Oh, this isn't a burger place anymore. We now serve tacos." Like walls crumbled.
Yeah.
And now I'm thrown off a little bit. So I think, just having a little sense of like I know what I'm going into. I know. And having a game plan on how to like yourself respond to stress in the moment, I think it's the best bet. But trying to like bullet point every second, what you're going to do is one, definitely be wrong because we are not fortune tellers,
Right.
and if you can do that, find me.
Yes.
And if you're right, then you just spent that whole time being stressed about a stressful event that you don't know is happening. I don't want an appetizer to my stress.
Right.
If this is happening
I'm loving that.
if this is happening 2 weeks from now, I'm not going to think about
right.
because again, we talk catastrophizing. Even if it does go the absolute worst case scenario, I'll deal with that, or I'll feel that in 2 weeks, but I'm not going to feel it for 2 weeks.
I'm loving it. That's perfect. I love that.
Period.
I'm not going to have an appetizer to my stress.
I don't need it.
That's a T-shirt. Okay.
Yes.
Right. One of the things I like that because you brought up the menu item. I like looking before I'm going to go to a restaurant. I look at the menu. Because I don't want to spend part of my time at the restaurant. I'm there not just going, oh, let me flip through there. Let's read a book. Let's go out to dinner. But first, the first thing we're going to do is read a book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I heard a QR code. Let me stare at my phone. I haven't seen you in 3 months. Great. Yeah.
But let's spend a half an hour deciding what we want. So I play this game where every type of restaurant I go to, I have a go-to in my head.
Yep.
Okay. So if I'm going to go to this type, if I'm going to go to a Mexican restaurant, I'm going to order fajitas. That's in my head. That's what I'm going to order. All right. And I judge every Mexican restaurant by their fajitas, right? If it's an Italian restaurant, I tell them that I want some type of like a ziti or a mustacholi in olive oil with garlic and broccoli, right? And so
specific.
Very specific. So I have these meals in my head that for every type of restaurant, I know what I'm going to order. And the first thing I do is I sit down. If I don't get a chance to look at the menu online ahead of time, walk in, open the menu, glance really quickly. If nothing jumps out and beats my idea, put the menu to the side. I'm ready to order.
Yeah, sure, I'm ready. I'd be like, put the menu aside. I'm getting up and leaving.
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean you don't have fajitas?
Fajitas?
Yeah, this is a Chinese restaurant, sir.
Bye.
Right. So I just think I like being prepared for something like that. So that's why I'm saying I don't know if it's stress as much as to me it's just kind of like, I came out here to eat with you, not to sit here and look at the menu or watch you look at the menu.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to waste like my chat time, but for something going in, like a test, I know that's obviously like study for your test and stuff.
Yeah.
But like the taking the test for public speaking is like if you're predicting the outcome of everyone's gonna laugh at me, this and that, or if you're predicting I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna stutter or something, you're almost like kind of manifesting at that point.
Yep.
But it's like you're kind of being a hater and a self-bully.
Yeah.
And you're stressing and feeling the feeling of if you were laughed at.
Yeah. And I think just take it a step further. So if you're going to go somewhere and you're going to go, they're all going to laugh at me. I'm going to go somewhere. They're going to bully me. Stop for a second, say, and then what?
I love that.
And then what? Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so they laugh at me. Okay. Then how will I react to that? Well, I'm going to laugh with them,
Mhm.
or I'm going to go, that is funny. I'm going to ask them, what are you laughing at?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Suddenly, if I can prepare for this,
Mhm.
right? I can adapt to it rather than let them take control and freak me out.
Yeah. Or let it
Instead-
change your behavior.
Yeah,
Right. Like it's like
yeah.
I'm not gonna say that. They might laugh.
Yeah.
Say it.
Say just
Always
right.
say it.
Say it. Exactly. I agree. Jump in that pool.
Do
right?
it.
All right. All right. So letter C we got here. We're flying through these.
Oh my
All right. Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. Before you know it, it'll be 9 o'clock and we'll get to O. All right. But C is I put communicate,
Yep.
which I'm talking about is talk openly about challenges. Don't bottle them up. Just let them out. And then you put O. I'm going to say yours is you put in wait. Let me
got this.
I'm going, and you did O, and then for W, I said C is communicate. Your C was control.
Yes.
Focus on what you can control. So, tell me a little bit about that. Focus on what you can control.
This is bouncing off that.
The Serenity Prayer.
Oh yes. Is that?
Took me a year on this show to get that right.
But this is kind of talking like stepping on the radical acceptance, which I like when I was first introduced that, which is just kind of like if I feel like cannot change something, I need to radically accept it.
Yeah.
Just like that's impossible at first. I'm like, that's infuriating because how am I not supposed to react to something I can't change?
Right.
But it kind of roots in the more you think something, there's it's like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that it's kind of like a cycle they talk about that your thoughts, you kind of think about like a big circle with the arrows and stuff you see on a graph. Thoughts go to emotions, lead to
Yes.
behaviors, which
Yep.
lead to like physical reaction.
Right,
and they're interchangeable. So the more you keep thinking about things you can't control, like, oh my gosh, an example, blah, 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 then the more likely you're going to start kind of having these thoughts rooted in you. And just remember, the only thing you can control is what you say and do.
Yes.
Not other people.
Right. Yeah. You can barely control your feeling. Right.
Yeah.
But you can control what you say or do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It goes along with this whole idea is on my website, masterhappiness.com. There's a picture of Bacon the pig, the little pink pig, right? And just about everywhere in the site, you'll see him appear in different places. If you click on that, it opens up a sheet, which is my happiness worksheet. Okay. Which is a 1 week worksheet, not a worksheet. Has nothing to do with sheep, but it's a worksheet. And what it does is it asks you at the end of every day just to come up with one word, a short description of what scared you today, what angered you today, what saddened you today, and then come up with 3 things that brought you joy.
Nice.
All right. And just write them down really quickly and then number them on a scale of 1 to 10. How happy did that thing make you? How sad were you really?
Yeah.
All right. And what it does is by the end of the week, you forced yourself to come up with 21 things that brought you happiness, and 7 things that brought you sadness, 7 things that angered you, etc. And after you do this a couple of weeks, you suddenly start really focusing in on the happy things, the little goofy, silly things like I saw a puppy. And it was the coolest thing, right? And then you suddenly go, oh, and then a bird did its business on my car. And that angered me, but really on a scale of 1 to 10, it wasn't that big of a deal. Right. And suddenly you start really realizing the things that anger us and sadden us and make us afraid are really minor. We blow them out of proportion.
I like to use how am I going to feel about this next week?
Yeah.
For like in the moment stressors. I have
like
a red light curse. I actually call it a yellow light curse because I am always the first one to get stopped by the red light. So it's very easy for me I get so aggravated at red lights so easily. Like I don't know what that one is for me. Look, I'm getting angry talking about it. But is to like really realistically, I'll sit there and I'll think, am I going to get mad about being at this red light at this intersection tomorrow or even a week from now?
Yeah.
But just, I can like bring myself in, rationalize, am I blowing this out of proportion in terms of my stress reaction?
And
usually a red light is not.
Right. All right. So one of the things that still stresses me out, and it's probably the big thing for me, is traffic. Like, because it hits all the buttons.
Yep.
I can't control it. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. We're on the expressway. We're all supposed to be doing at least 55, but for some reason we're doing 0.
When
Right?
did I get to this parking lot?
Exactly. Right. But the more and more when I'm driving on the streets and there's a red light, I have to stop at a red light or something like that. Rather than freaking out, what I do say is somebody drives by in front of me, because I hit the red light, they have a green light, they drive by, and I look, I helped him get his job today. Exactly.
I like
because
that.
you start going, that guy over there made it to his meeting in time.
Boom.
All right. That person there visiting someone in the hospital. All right. So all these other things is because the world made me stop there to give an opening to these other people. So they have a better day, a better life because of me.
I love that. You reminded me of this very monumental. It's a YouTube video that's shortened convention speech of David Foster Wallace called "This Is Water."
Oh wow! Okay.
It is phenomenal. It is 10 minutes on YouTube. I highly recommend everybody watch this. I watch it
twice.
But it opens with a really cool line of these two young fish that are swimming in the ocean.
Yeah.
And they're chit-chatting, and an old fish swims by, and he goes, "Morning, boys. How's the water?" And the two young fish look at each other and they go, "What the hell?" Talking about how it's so easy for us to be so self-centered in our mind. Because for me, I stop at a red light and I'm like, that red light's out to get me. Of course I have to stop this and that. This guy in front of me got to go through the yellow light, blah, 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 because he was going too slow. It's his fault. But I could be thinking, what if he was going really slow because he was in a car accident?
Right.
It's coming back to, I can't control anything else, but I can control how I think about things.
Yep.
So you're of the likelihood of that being a thing.
Yeah.
Probably not. Every single time you stop a red light, you got somebody a job. I don't know.
It's not always a job. I've saved lives. Okay.
Got organs to the hospital on time.
There's all kinds of stuff,
Fantastic.
Right. I've saved marriages because he was able to go to the grocery store. He had a little extra time.
I yielded on the yellow
flower. Right. So he could go and pick up flowers for his wife.
That was it. The mind, breaker.
Exactly.
But so that it's the likelihood of it doesn't have to really matter. It's what you can control. And again, we're going back to perception. We should pin that word on our.
Yeah. And think about it. If you can say that the red light or the yellow light is the end of your life, if this is the worst, then I can say it's the greatest thing. I'm a superhero. I am a hero because of that red light.
And look at how happy you talk about red lights.
Exactly. I know. Right. Still, I have not beaten the expressway traffic yet. I'm working on that one. That one still gets to me.
I do, because I drive a lot in my job, obviously, and I'm driving an ambulance, so people tend to not know. Oh my gosh, PSA, if you're ever driving and there's a vehicle with lights and sirens coming behind you, I want to be in the middle of the road.
Yes.
I want everything to go to the left because I'm big and I want to be in the middle of the road and blah, blah, blah. So just saying that, because I want to make a bingo card. People do everything you could think of. My favorite is putting your car in park in the lane that you are in. And putting your hazards on. I see that a lot. Let's stop. Let's take that off. Anyways, I'm derailing so hard.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
But
that's all right.
Yes, traffic does get I see a lot of people driving all the time. And I see a lot of nighttime 2 a.m. traffic.
Yeah.
And you're just it's so hard not to get so mad at other people. But it's I can't assume that, this guy's in blah, blah, blah. I can get mad and think about it. Or I can think about, maybe he was in a car accident 3 months ago and he's scared to drive fast.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
And why I always choose the most negative.
So instead, here's what you do. A while ago, I had what I'm going to call the aha moment.
Yes.
All right. And it's AHA, AHA. Anticipate happiness always.
Yes.
That's it. That was it. Just every single situation, no matter what happens, if you can view it as a happy situation, you have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Instead of saying, "Oh, I can't believe this happened." Whatever the deal is, I can anticipate happiness when I walk into a room. Okay, I'm assuming only happy things are going to happen. What's the worst case scenario is it doesn't happen. All right, but if it doesn't happen,
you don't need an appetizer.
Right there, you go. I love it. Perfect. Don't let me forget that. Okay, all right. So let's get into this next one, which is the O's.
Did you do yours? Did we do yours?
Did we do? Oh, communicate, talk openly.
Boom,
yeah, I think we've been talking openly.
I'm pretty open.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Just be able to share that information, how we work through stuff. Talk about how things are bugging us.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Problems are much bigger inside your brain than out in the full air of the world.
Sometimes, man, just saying it out loud,
and even by yourself, it works.
And you go, I cannot believe that's what's bothering me. right?
Yeah. Just like, sometimes I'll be going just like something is wrong. What is
Yeah.
this feeling? And then
Yeah.
I'll channel it back to a red light from 20 minutes ago. And I'm like,
Yeah.
is this really what I'm upset about still?
Right, exactly.
No need.
It's too fun.
Talk it out
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah. Instead, just anticipate happiness always.
Yes.
Everything happens for a reason, and it's a good reason.
Always.
All right. There
And
you
even
go.
if it isn't, who knows?
I got dressed in the dark this morning. I had some meetings.
Yeah.
My wife was still asleep, so I
Okay.
didn't turn on any lights. And then when I was putting on my shoes later, I realized I have 2 different colored socks.
Love.
Okay, so that's
Chaos.
perfect. So there's got to be some reason for that.
But your feet are still warm.
Oh, they're very warm. You're right. Okay, so let's get to the O's here.
Yep.
The O's are, I went with organize, keep a planner or to-do list. Okay, which I liked how you said your diary, right? That you will enter that. That'll be interesting. That's long after you're dead. We should make the movie.
Wait,
Okay,
man, you
yeah.
guys. I will. I do need to be dead for it 'cause it's a shame, but
Yes. That's why I don't write anything down. All right. And you wrote optimize,
Yep.
Use time, energy, and resources efficiently. So I'm going to go first this time because I almost forgot my last one. So organize. I think in a lot of ways we're on the same boat here. Is to be able to write these kinds of things down. It helps us analyze what has happened in the past. It helps us prepare for what's going to be in the future.
Yes.
And it helps us laugh at ourselves. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we look at these things like they're monumental. This is earth-ending news, right? And when you say it out loud, when you write it down, when you read it the next day, or like you said, a week from now or something like that, you look at it and go, why did I let that make me upset? Why did I have that ruin my day? Okay. And so I think it's really important just to organize that kind of stuff. Try to organize your life in some way. I'm not telling people use a day planner or make a to-do list. Do whatever works for you, just to add a little organization to your life.
It definitely helps kind of allocate like I am one of those people, like I'll wake up in the middle of the night at like 2 a.m. and be like, oh, I need to get my oil changed. It's like, why am I stressed about my car mechanics right now?
Yes.
So like I really do like to keep a journal or even on my phone notes, something that nearby in my bed that I know I won't forget it. But this right now, 2 a.m. is not the time for me to be dealing or worrying about like my student loans. Like who knows, right? Like this right now is not the time to be dealing. So yeah, kind of like knowing what works best for you. But just spreading everything out a little bit more, knowing that like you're not walking around with all of the same responsibilities all the time.
Correct.
Like I'm dedicating 2 a.m. I'm dedicating right now for me to relax and sleep. So yeah, just kind of like give yourself some grace.
I think it's also important to learn something that helps you get back to sleep, which we can save in a different show, or if there's a little bit of time. But I'm looking at time; it's like 7:53.
We already have a little.
Yeah,
bit.
Exactly. All right. So the letter N we're gonna go with is mine was navigate, know when to walk away or take a break, and that's kind of self-explanatory. Yours was notice or nurture, pay attention to signs of stress and or burnout.
Yeah.
So go for it. I'm going to let you go first.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So this one, I think it's really easy to kind of like put, especially if you're somebody talking about like career wise or like family, like management, household management. It's so easy to kind of put yourself on the back burner.
Yeah.
Looking at my to-do list, looking at the things that I have to do, that all of a sudden it's like a huge, big problem. Like you need surgery over a Band-Aid kind of thing. I don't really know. But
sure.
Being able to kind of like be in tune with yourself more and like kind of like maintenance always, like self-care, blah, blah, blah. We can get into that forever.
Yeah.
But noticing those like kind of early signs of like, for me, like I know like if I like start sleeping a lot more, like I can tell it just like, okay, like we need to like get up, or like I know like that's one of my signs that I'm getting a little stressed out is like, because that is I love sleeping.
You're talking to the right person. If I don't get 2 naps in every day, I've ruined my day.
Fraser makes fun of me because he says every time I go to bed I act like that's the first time I've ever done that, because I'm like, oh, isn't this amazing? Isn't this just the best? Like I'm so excited. So you just did this last night. But noticing obviously signs of yourself not having a good time. Stress, whether that be like long-term stress, I'm worried about my job, or short-term stress, but I like to have a plan. Okay. Segueing into nurturing, like pre-plan a like kind of how like what works for you, so like grounding stuff, like anything, if you like to like meditate, if you're like in a moment that you want to deal with stress, and then like kind of a long term, so like talk therapy, journaling. We've been talking about
Yeah.
going back on the career, like maybe limiting time spent at work or thinking about work. I don't know, like things that you can do to just kind of listen to yourself, find what feels good for yourself. And remember, you are number one.
There you go. Wow, you said with such enthusiasm. You did mention grounding. One of those things I really liked that idea of grounding. The first time I heard that, and I wrote it down, and so I'm glad you brought it up. Is that what you end up doing is when you're freaking out like that, your breathing is one thing, taking a walk, walking away, which is what my end. But the other thing is this whole idea is take a look and list 5 things that you can see.
Yes.
All right, 4 things that you can touch. 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. All right. And it's another one of those ones that I have to write that down. I'll never remember the order.
Oh my God.
I'll be like, I can't taste 5 things right now unless I start.
Put in my mouth.
Let me lick the wall. Okay. But it's really interesting because just that itself, I think, takes you away from your problem. It gives you enough time to just walk away from the problem. Kind of like you were saying,
Yeah.
will this bug you in a week? How about take 30 seconds, do something to distract you completely, and then look at it going, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's much worse that I just lick the wall.
I always like to do talk on the point of avoidance versus distraction.
Yep.
Because grounding, that is definitely a distraction tool. If I'm stressed, if I'm like worried or something like that, like in this moment, like I need like a life ring just for a second. Let me look at 5 things that are blue or whatever you want to do.
I like it. Yeah.
But I just lost my train of thought. Choo-choo.
That's
Gone.
That's all right. That's all right. But when I was talking about come up with a way to help you fall asleep, what I do for myself is I pick any kind of subject. Like I might say, the radio station. All right. And I'll say alphabetical order, A through Z, say something about the radio.
I just started doing
that.
Really?
Really? Okay.
Weird that you say that.
Yeah.
Like I thought I just made that up in my head.
I do it.
Love that.
Well, that's all right. Geniuses, people create the exact same thing all over the world, but it works for me. And I go through all kinds of things and I find myself falling asleep so quickly. And then if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, I was on G. All right. What was on G? All right. Oh, I can't remember what D is. All right. Start over. And then I make my own rules for it. Like if I started A again, I can't use the same words I did before.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's already off the board.
But I've done stuff like movies and like 1-word movie titles.
That's a good category.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
I did pies the other day.
Oh,
and I thought of you actually because
nice.
Ate Marty and I went to on Pie Day, to what was Baker Square and ate, I think it was like 14 different pies.
Yeah, not full pies.
Let's
just be honest. Let's
tasted.
Exactly.
That was one. I had a button in my pants before we left. I was one of those.
All right. It looks like we're just about out of time. So one thing I did want to just bring up, and I want to make sure that everyone understands. Again, like we talked earlier, we're not professionals at this. We're just talking about from our heart how we've dealt with stress. We've all dealt with stress in our own ways. And I'm not going to say that my stress was worse or easier than yours. We all took it in our own way. It affected us separately. And I don't know how difficult it is for some people, but it does seem like some people can handle stress better than others. If you really can't handle stress, there are places you can go to. All right. I always say, talk to a friend, talk to a family member, talk to a life coach, talk to somebody. And if it's worse than that, there are numbers like 988 is the suicide and crisis lifeline, or you can call and chat to them. You can go to 988lifeline.org. That's another place, just so you can get some help. I encourage you to not bottle it up. Don't keep it inside. Just go out and get some help. There are plenty of people. Call Cricket sometimes.
Absolutely.
Just call 911. Her ambulance will come right over and you can sit and chat with her. Okay?
Yeah, we'd love that. Yeah, wake me up in the middle of the night.
That's right. So Ed, we've got about 30 seconds left. I'm throwing the camera back at you. What was the thing that you loved most about today's show, other than that you got to spend the evening with me?
So this is my second debut on the radio, and they've upgraded the equipment. I feel very being filmed. Like I want to get my own podcast.
Nice.
I don't know what the Cricket's Corner. Who knows? I have things to say, y'all.
I just want
an hour isn't enough.
I know. I want to be a guest on your show.
It'll be my first.
All right. Excellent. All right. And I just want to thank you so much. I'm going to tell you, this is the second time you've been on the show. I want you here all the time because you are probably one of the most intelligent guests I've ever had. All right. Sorry to the rest of you, but she's young enough to not be
sorry.
she's yeah, exactly. She's young enough not to be afraid and old enough to be very wise. So thank you so
I
very
can
much.
read.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and I want everyone to tune in next week. We're going to have some an exciting guest, my friend Joe, and we're going to be talking. I think next week we're going to be talking about beyond AI. What is the fear of artificial intelligence? Why we shouldn't be so afraid of it. All right. If that's not next week, it'll be the week afterwards. But in the meantime, if you missed any part of the show, tune in later this week. It'll be on the podcast Bacon Bits with Master Happiness anywhere you listen to podcasts. And this is Marty saying good night.
Used to play every night. Now he's in a rock and roll outfit and everything's all right.